And now they've reloaded their war chest so they have more money to go after more brokerages.
Yay! Yep. More money to go
they
get
can sue more of us.
Sue happy.
Wow.
Welcome to the Real Estate Rundown. We are here with Kayla, Keith, and Elliot.
What up,
guys?
I'm curious what's going on with Curbio now that they actually are getting sued as well. So the Attorney General is bringing a lawsuit to Curbio, or I guess suing Curbio for basically misleading consumers, saying that that Curbio is claiming to over improve their house and get as much as 200% return on the investment of their property. So not only that, they're quoting that there's shoddy work for premium pricing, and ultimately, Jay, you said that that there was one house that they forced into foreclosure, right?
Yeah, I read in the article.
What market? Because
So
you just said
yeah, I know.
Washington,
D.C. You just said Attorney General, though, because there's lots of attorneys.
Washington, D.C.
Washington,
D.C.
D.C.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, in some markets, I'm sure they get 200% out of.
I'm sure they do too.
But not all markets. I mean, obviously.
So what I find interesting about this is the complaint alleges that there was discrimination on behalf of Curbio for marginalized and older people, and the aggrieved people are in their 90s. They're older, and apparently it was at this one section where the residents happened to be older and skew predominantly African American. And so they're claiming that there was, they're claiming some allegations in that regard too.
So we were just talking though that in our unique market right now, this is actually, I mean, the value proposition that it brings to the marketplace, I think, is actually quite monumental, which is why we see so many top producing agents that they're actually leading with, hey, we'll improve your property, get it in top condition to be able to sell it fast and for a premium price, right? There are agents around the country that are even doing this with their own funds, or they're partnering with companies like Curbio, Revive. Obviously at Zoodealio, you have the ability to cash them out, renovate the house, resell the property, and get the difference, right? So these are all unique value propositions that I think a lot of top agents are absolutely getting sellers to raise their hand for. Now, with that said, if they're gouging and they're taking advantage of people, like in certain cases where they improve the property, they lien the house based on between what was owed and then the additional
Everybody
lien.
liens the house when they do work on a property.
I know that.
Like, to me, that's a nothing burger. They all file a mechanics lien.
Right, let me finish, because what I'm saying is what happened after the fact is they improved the house, put an additional lien for $100,000 on it, and I'm just using round numbers here, but $200,000 mortgage, $100,000 lien on it, and it's now worth $275,000, and they drove it to foreclosure, right? So because of what went on, right? They couldn't get an offer that was going to pay off their mortgage plus the renovation costs.
We don't know what the situation was.
I don't know if that was the
sure.
situation.
I don't know either, but
Thanks so much for tuning in. Hey, if you are listening and you are not subscribed to our channel, I'm going to invite you to subscribe. Please also ring that notification bell so you get updated of our new episodes. And in the spirit of Thanksgiving, we just want to say thank you so much for watching, supporting, all of the good vibes. We appreciate you. Yeah, so I wonder how Curbio is feeling. I wonder if this impacts their reach in the market.
well, I mean, but I think your sentiment is right? If they're not targeting the consumers making the offers directly to the homeowners, it's the agent that's saying, hey, this is a section that could absolutely benefit from this opportunity, right? If we improve the property, it's an older house that, hey, they're 20 years old or 40 years old, and more times than not, they're going to need a little TLC. And this is now an additional way that I can make 5% plus sell the house for a higher price and get a higher commission because now I'm selling it for a higher price.
But there are properties that it doesn't make sense to do repairs. Mm-hmm. It makes more sense to resell or sell it as is.
Yeah, and
just tear them down.
Let the next buyer deal with it. Or
and because the house is the value of the house isn't there. Like you have a $250,000 house and it needs a $100,000 remodel. You're not going to get 200% of your investment because that would be that'd be insane. It's
the ceiling is the ceiling.
Yep,
makes sense to me.
But if you're in San Francisco, and you have 1,400 square foot house that needs $300,000 worth of remodeling and it's just original, you're probably going to get $600,000 of value there.
Yep.
If you fix it up, but doesn't happen in every market. So
Yeah, it'll be interesting to keep an eye on that story just to figure out more of the details, because I don't feel like we have all the
No, we don't have
details.
all the details. It's just a
I
Because
agree.
Just an article.
we see a lot of that happening in our system, and it's just always intriguing, to see how a consumer feels they were taken advantage of when a property was renovated.
yeah.
Yeah, it is really interesting. I mean, by and large, it's one of the best products I believe that we offer is that home improvement sale with nothing out of pocket.
That's a huge opportunity.
Exactly, and so it does make me a little sad to see them getting this kind of backlash. Obviously, I don't know the details. Maybe they deserve it. You're right, Keith. We're gonna have to kind of stay tuned and fact find. And I'm surprised that Inman hasn't done an article on it.
Me too.
Because I came out Washington Post yesterday. Actually, our producer of the show, Colby, found it. And, usually we find most real estate news on Inman or Housing Wire first. But, not that one. Hey, in an update to the commission lawsuit, I thought this was kind of interesting. So the court granted preliminary approval of the settlement between Anywhere and Remax. And essentially what this means is that the CEOs of those companies should be like CEOs of the decade for the real estate industry. Because part of the class certification that was given, it essentially protects any Remax or Anywhere franchisee, everything.
During that period, right?
And into the future. So now, so what I follow Rob Hahn. I talk about him all the time. Rob, if you're listening, I love your brilliance. And basically what he skinned out is a future where a lot of these brokers are getting sued and the safest place to be is going to be Remax or an Anywhere company. And he thinks we're going to see a massive flight to those companies to protect themselves from shakedowns.
I could totally see that happening. We already talked about that, right? Like where that sucks for a lot of these bigger brokerages where there's going to be a bunch of fear when all this shakes out that they're going to bounce, because if you have 10 closings that are coming in the company, all of this the hammer drops and all of a sudden now they can't pay you and you did all this work and you can't even get your commissions. That's crazy. It caused agents to be scared and bounce.
Something else interesting that Rob Hahn pointed out was that because Anywhere and Remax are already depositing funds into the settlement account, basically, of course, the attorneys are going to get their cut and they have to file with the court within the next 30 days the percentage that they're taking from it. And he estimates it's going to be about 25%. And essentially 25% of the settlement amounts works out to about $20 to $30 million. And now they've reloaded their war chest so they have more money to go after more brokerages.
Yay! More money to go
They
get
can sue more of us.
Sue happy.
Wow, this is just tip of
Thank
the
you,
iceberg,
Anywhere and
huh?
Remax.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, they were smart.
But is that
they're
is
smart,
that a kingpin move for them, right? They actually
Oh, of
what
course
if
it
they
is.
looked at
They're not
all the
gonna
moves down the road on this? Like, hey, they're not going to settle if they win. This is going to happen. Then they're going to re-up, and then they're going to keep attacking, and we're going to sit over here. Whoa, we're protected.
Yeah, you might want to buy some
Smart.
Anywhere stock.
Yeah.
It's probably pretty cheap.
It is,
But
cheap.
that's right.
I got
But
that's
it might be a long hold.
What
It
stock?
could go
Anywhere.
stock. Yeah, because if they're insulated, and a lot of these, they get a bunch of influx of agents coming to them because they don't want to get sued or they don't want to lose their commission if their company gets sued and they have 5 in escrow and their company freezes all their funds, and I don't know.
Yep.
I mean,
It's pretty
pretty
inexpensive, like $4 and
it used to be like $1.
yeah.
Yeah, a while ago. I traded it years back.
Yeah, I remember that. Like, I think it was like back in like 2019 in the summer. For some reason, you were trading Realogy at the time, like a lot.
Well, one more quick thing before we get into our segments, because I think it's just important to talk to our listeners out there with rates, right? That they're starting to be favorable. Well, maybe that's loosely. Maybe that's loose.
7.3 is favorable.
Yeah.
Hey, he's better than
Perspective.
8.
That's what.
Yes.
Well, hey, if we go back to the 80s, right? It was 16% at times, right?
You want me to do the market minute?
Yeah,
now?
let's go.
Dive in.
We got something that came out. just today, home sales fell to a 13-year low in October. Okay, so that means
That's 13-year low.
Yep. The average home sold for $391,800, an increase of 3.4% since last October. So our prices went up, but our sales
Transactions,
are low. Yeah, so we're currently on an adjusted annualized rate of 3.79 million homes sold for this year.
Wow.
So
Under 4.
Under 4, which is really low. And at the end of October, there were 1.15 million homes available for sale, which is down 5.7% since last October. So our inventory is 5.7% lower than last year. 28% of homes sold above list price.
Wow.
Which I thought was kind of interesting. There's still people buying over list price, right? And then sales fell in all price categories up to $750,000, which was interesting. But there was an increase in sales of higher end homes.
An increase in sales of higher end homes?
Yes. Homes priced above $1 million were up just over 9% from a year ago.
Yeah, how many of those houses are bought in cash, though?
Yep, wealthier buyers intend either tend not to use mortgages, or they're less sensitive to monthly rate changes. So they're still buying the $1 million homes. We've noticed that in Queen Creek. We have a lot of $1 million homes in Queen Creek, and we're seeing them under contract. You're like, wow, okay, all these $1 million homes are under contract. That's kind of interesting. Here we got first time home. This is all in the article about the home sales falling 13-year low in October. First time home buyers represented 28% of October sales, which is kind of interesting. Unchanged from a year ago, and still significantly lower from the 40% share they have represented historically. So usually they're about 40% of home sales, 28% of them in October.
Makes sense why below 750
Yep.
went down.
Absolutely. Individual investors bought 15% of the homes, down from 18% in September and 16% from a year ago. And all cash deals made up 29% of sales, up from 26% in October 2022.
Wow, 30%. That's wild. So, I mean, what that tells me is obviously those all cash deals are taking advantage of maybe houses that I understand that 28% sold over list, or 28% of the houses sold over list, but there's also going to be that little segment of cash is king, get a better deal.
And we don't. I mean, obviously the sales went down because the rates are up.
Yep.
But we're still trending up on a national level. Obviously, there's local levels where we've seen prices come down, but on a national level, 3.8%.
Well, and I think that, there's a lot of economists state that, right, that any inventory will really start to move if we can get rates underneath 6.5%, right? That's a lot of things that I've seen, heard.
Well, hopefully inventory goes up if rates come down.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
what we
Right.
need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. It'll cause.
It should.
We're sitting on 1.15 million homes, which is, average. What a basic market would
A
be.
healthy
about.
market.
1.5, right?
No, I think it's a little bit over.
It's over that.
Like 2 in the twos.
Maybe
I've often theorized, though, that if we rely on history to kind of set that bar, it might be inaccurate because there's more efficiencies in the market now. And consumers have access to real-time data, and they can, time moves in the past that maybe they wouldn't have been able to do. And so that could actually account for maybe the market just moves faster in general.
Yep.
Like maybe when we all started real estate, it was not abnormal for a house to be on the market for 90, 120 days, or even,
6 months,
6
12
months.
months.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
but
anytime right? Remember the normal numbers. Anytime a market was less than 4 months, it was more of a seller's market, right? Favored the seller. Went more than, it was like balanced was that 5, 6-ish. And then if it was longer, then it was a market that favored buyers. I don't feel that way about today. If it's 3 months or more that your house is on the market, that's favoring the buyer.
right. So that's my point. I think things have changed, and the perspective needs to shift a little on that.
But 3.75 million homes in 1 year is really
Low.
low.
That's
Really
like from the highs of like 6 million. That's what, 35% hit, 40% hit. Yeah,
That's really low.
That's in 2 years. 40% change in
seemed
transaction volume. There's
seemed
40% less paychecks out there for us.
40% less paychecks for agents, and so we're seeing them drop like flies right now.
Yep.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. Morgan Stanley came out today with their predictions, and they're predicting that next year we're going to see a 3% drop in home values. And they
Across the board.
they do believe that we'll see rates come down and that affordability will ease in combination with rates coming down and a little bit of a decrease in prices. And then also they're saying that they expect more inventory on the market. As rates come down, more sellers won't be as impacted by the lock-in effect, and they'll make a move, and that we're likely going to see more sales in the latter half of next year than in the
Where
first
do you
half.
think these people are going to go, though? I don't. I'm not seeing it yet, but maybe. Good old Morgan Stanley. I mean, I know. I follow a guy on YouTube. He calls him Moron Stanley.
Oh, dear.
Moron Stanley. Well, that's his clickbait, right?
Well,
Stop the scroll.
They say a lot of things.
Yeah, but didn't Morgan Stanley come out and say something about Tesla? And then as soon as that happened, like Tesla stock skyrocketed.
Yep.
Yeah,
and then they talk trash about him too. So.
Yeah, but they're influential in the markets.
Yeah, they can definitely move markets.
Yeah.
And you wonder why they do. I mean, obviously.
Are
Yeah, exactly. Cause
Money.
going back to conspiracies, we always do.
It's not a conspiracy.
It should be the
These companies move
conspiracy
markets.
cast.
All right, so what we got going on for Deal of the Week is a little bit what we were talking about earlier in regards to renovating homes. So always love bringing these stories up because, it's just it's a really cool story, and a lot of agents and home sellers seem to find themselves in this situation. So we all love animals, dogs, cats, all those types of things, but I have a ton myself.
People love
And
their
if your
animals.
situation is anything like mine and the story that I'm about to tell right now, sometimes they're not always the most cleanliness animals, and they're not convenient to have when you need
selling
to
your
sell and move. So a property that's currently being acquired right now, they literally every single room you can see a kitty litter box. So I guess I don't know how many cats.
Those smell so good, though.
I don't
like
know
that.
how
I
many
like that
cats-
smell.
aesthetically as well as
I don't know.
incense.
I don't know how many cats are in
incense.
this house, but they've made it very convenient for them. I'll just say that way. It's a little over the top in my personal opinion, but I think one is more than enough. So anyway, you see cat litter boxes literally in every single room. And because of that, then they do have dogs too. So naturally, these people allow the carpet to just be completely trashed. And it just doesn't show well. If you were to put the property on the market, first and foremost, most people probably wouldn't have a good experience at all, right? It would just be immediately a turnoff, even if it was a nice floor plan.
Even if it's a dog or cat person, they go in there and it's like,
Yes, exactly.
like I wouldn't live.
It just literally wouldn't make sense to do it. Even if they move out and you leave the property in that condition, you still smell it. Hey, no one else likes to smell other people's cat, even if you have your own. So that's just the bottom line. And so,
and where do all these cats and dogs go when people want to show the house? Like they're in a car down the street. Like,
a lot of people leave their cats.
Hide under the bed.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people
Don't
leave
open
their
the door.
cats.
Cats are inside. Don't open the door. Dog behind.
We all love our fur babies, our fur critters, but it makes sense to streamline the process for them, right? Making your life and their life more convenient. So these particular sellers made the smart choice and decided to take the renovation. We went under contract on the cash plus. They decided to do all new carpet, all new paint, right? That alone is just going to freshen up the property right then and there. But then now, the property's been lived in, so we're going to restore the kitchen, throw in quartz countertops, kind of spruce everything up, and truly transform this place. So when it's all said and done, it'll make it feel there was no animals that have lived and trashed this property. And so that's always really exciting. And so we're working on a project like that we're getting ready to close this week, and looking forward to see the transformation of that property. And they're going to make out for it. It's a really nice floor plan. and they would be losing out on a ton of value by not doing this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Good-
they just sell
cool
to a
story.
flipper or something, right?
Cool story, Keith.
Well-
What market is that house in?
It's actually one here, home base in Arizona.
Oh, no
easy.
kidding. Very cool.
Yep.
Well, and the other thing too, like we can all say that we're not judgmental, right? But when you walk into a house and you see people's stuff and their animals, whatever else, there's like sometimes you'll just pass judgment on the particular property and you'll cross it off your list because you don't like something that you see in that, right? So by removing that obstacle, you're keeping it as open to as many buyers as possible.
Better
and
yet, you get some
elevating the equity.
people that would go, I can probably lowball them because a lot of
Yes.
people won't make an offer. So if I make an offer really low,
Yes.
I can get a steal of a deal here.
Yep,
point, Jay.
and the way the property is, even though it's more of a lipsticky type, because otherwise the property's, the bones are super solid, newer house.
Yeah.
That's the flipper's dream, where
Yep.
where flippers are going in
Yep.
and quote unquote taking advantage. And when I say that, I mean that from a negative context, they are taking advantage of people because of those circumstances.
Yeah, well, they can see through those hurdles and know what the return's going to be on it, right? If they can remove those obstacles and they put, $1,000 into the property and get a $50K return, well, now that money's going to that homeowner. So
Yep.
kudos.
It's really cool. I love it. Changing lives and homes at the same time.
Yeah.
And guess what? They're not going to be taken advantage of. I
No.
can assure you that.
And we're not going to put a lien on their house. No.
They're getting the
Yeah, they're getting
equity,
cashed out.
they're getting the equity, not the buyer. This is just a massive benefit for everybody to have a much greater resale experience.
Well, how much easier is it for the agent to do their job, right? That's the other thing, too, we don't
It's
talk
better
about.
for the buyer. It's a better asset to resell. It's awesome for the listing agent, and it's awesome for the seller.
Absolutely.
Well, in today's Viral Vibes, I'm going to piggyback off of last week's Viral Vibes because Snoop Dogg announced that he was giving up smoke. And we talked about it. And we also talked about how he was smoking 81 joints a day, how he has a professional blunt roller on staff. And turns out we got had.
Yep.
So it was
Snoop
That's
got us.
hilarious.
It
I
was-
totally got me.
It was an ad. He was doing an ad for a company he partnered with. It was a smokeless grill. And he posted this on his Instagram. I'm giving up smoke. I should have saw that coming because it just said smoke. But I mean, man, when I went on Google, it was like the #1 trending search. It had like millions and millions of search hits. Anyway, Snoop did not give up smoke. He gave up he gave up a grill that smokes. Anyway,
I like a
He
little
makes
smoke
bank.
in my
I'm
food.
sure he
though,
owns half that
sometimes.
company too, right?
Oh,
yeah,
dude.
they were actually saying like the stock prices of those companies were probably going to go down. It could have like really like screwed up numbers.
Oh, you're talking about his weed company.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I was thinking that too. I'm like, dang man, that's
So-
not good for her. Like, it's going to go down.
Getting old, finally got to him. I'm just thinking, I didn't know the 81. That's actually, it's more than mind blowing to me. I've known a couple
81.
people that I've worked with in sales and other industries and long past ago, and that they were the pretty much
Smoke
high
all day.
And I would love to ask them, like, could you smoke 81 joints a day? Like, how would you feel? How do you function?
How on earth? I don't know either.
How do your lungs look?
That is a lot
It's
of
like,
weed.
damn.
Jason said that he probably just like smokes one like
Oh, yeah.
once and
Not
puts it
so.
and then doesn't. He always
Yeah.
has a fresh.
It's not like he
joint,
smokes
maybe.
the
I
whole
don't know.
thing. Down
Maybe
to a
that's
little roach.
Yeah.
He's probably, because then it gets nasty. They just take a few puffs. And then gets
Yeah,
the
yeah.
next
When you got bankroll like that.
I'm done with this one. Here, you want to finish this one off?
All the other weed smokers around him. I'll take your hand-me-downs. Hanging around, getting his hand-me-down. Okay, well, in this week's advice, I'm actually kind of dovetailing off of the viral vibe here, where there's a lot of times that we are wanting to make sure that we're putting out new and fresh content. But if you can always ride the coattails of something else that's riding a mega trend, it behooves you to be able to kind of basically take that and recommunicate it to your to your audience, right? So I want to encourage you guys to be able to do that, right? So whether it be something like this that you can talk about on a social media, right? It's all about that posting strategy where you're going to be talking about business, you're going to be talking about something fun, maybe something inspirational, but also entertaining, right? So it's all of these types of things to where you want to make sure that you're capturing the eyeballs and earballs of your audience by creating fun and engaging content. So that's what I got for you guys and some advice this week.